Hello there, TikTok world, and how are we all today? As some of you may know, I am a practicing astrologer, and as such, I've been observing planetary movements for quite some time now. Now, as a result, I'm under the impression that I don't think that the ruling elite, whatever you want to call them, actually have much time left to finalize their NWO goals. I'll do my best to pull up some charts and show you in the most simplest way I can so you can see what I'm talking about. So traditionally, Saturn would be said to be a natural ruler over certain authority. It gives authority and notoriety. And it's also acknowledged to be a natural ruler over the administration and magistrates, among many other things, of course. So this chart I have here is showing when Saturn first moved into Aquarius in March 2020. Now it may vary depending on where you were located or are located in the world, but it was around this time in March of 2020 that they started to implement things like lockdowns, etc. And lockdowns, restrictions, delays, all this kind of influences are very Saturnian. So this is a chart showing the 3rd of July in 2020, when after Saturn had gone retrograde, it had just entered back into Capricorn. And if you think back to 2020, you may remember that they kind of did lockdowns, eased off for a while, and then lockdowns came back again. So in the end of 2020, around December 21st, there was what most astrologers were raving about at the time called the Great Conjunction, which is where Jupiter and Saturn are the closest they are within 20 or 30 years. Okay, so this conjunction occurred on the 1st degree of Aquarius, and that's what really kicked everything off. Since then, Saturn has been in Aquarius and has been imposing its Saturnian draconian rules upon everyone ever since. However, next year, in March of 2023, Saturn will move into Pisces. This is important because Saturn will move from being in its own sign of dignity and able to impose restrictions over communities to a sign of less dignity. I'm going to have to make a part 2, so see me there. Welcome back to the second part of assessing Saturn and the NWO. Okay, so as I was just finishing saying in the last video, is that Saturn is very strong when it's in Aquarius, but it's not as strong when it's in Pisces. So in the first 10 degrees and the last 3 degrees, Saturn does have some dignity within Pisces, but it's nowhere near as strong as what it was moving through Aquarius. So as Saturn moves through Pisces, it now has to wade through this ocean, so to speak, of compassion, this being torn between being compassionate and martyrdom, and on the other hand having to deal with the imagination. It's a place where things aren't as solid and stable as what they would have been in Aquarius or Capricorn. And so in Pisces, Saturn is considered to be peregrine. And so Saturn will essentially move itself from being an energy of control, restrictions, delays, karma and hardships, to more of a focus on the sciences, particularly that of the metaphysical sciences. So in other words, what I'm suggesting is that the administration is going to have a much harder time trying to control everybody than it did previously, at least physically. They may be trying to use the sciences and metaphysical sciences particularly. However, this wishy-washy energy of Pisces is going to make it so hard. So in order for them to really achieve what they want to do, they basically have between now and the 8th of March to really get all those solid puzzle pieces in their place. So like in the Great Conjunction, it was because of Saturn and Jupiter being the law aspect, working together to bring this about, these rules, restrictions, challenges. But right now, Jupiter has just moved back into Pisces. So now Jupiter has a better chance of establishing rules and laws and religious ideals that are more beneficial to people as opposed to the Saturnian restrictions that were being. Okay, and welcome back to the third part. And last time I was cut off just as I was talking about Jupiter. So Jupiter is strong in Pisces, and it's also going to connect us spiritually to those higher metaphysical realms of consciousness. But it is, however, at the moment retrograde, so it's going backwards through the sign. So there will be a little bit of a delay before we start to fully feel the influence of this Jupiter Pisces kick in. So first we've got to process it all internally, and perhaps do a lot of inner work before we can put it outwards, to the world, to have it instill its energy into our reality. So essentially, we have between now and the 21st of December this year to attempt to make a lot of positive changes that will be for the benefit of us, of the everyday citizen or sovereign individual. And I think we'll begin to find that there'll be a lot of backtracking on certain ideals that the administration has been trying to impose, which may eventually lead to a crumbling of everything that they've already tried to put in place. I mean, the resistance has been strong, and I don't think we're going down without a fight. So in essence, I guess what I'm saying is that for those of you who are aware of exactly what's been going on over the last 2 years and why and what they've been trying to do, now is a time where it's essential for you to do some inner work and intention work, maybe even working with the moon as well, where we can begin to instill the changes we want to see, where justice is served as it's supposed to be for people who have committed crimes, and for people who have lost their lives, and for people who have suffered extreme periods of trauma and other kind of abuses during this time. But of course, we must do it in a positive way that is in line with the natural laws, and the most prominent one being the very first one, first do no harm. Once Jupiter moves back out of Pisces, if we do this work, we can begin to take initiative again to instill the kind of laws and directions we want to see by the time we reach Saturn in Pisces. Thanks for listening.